Hey everybody, it's Zach, Tennis Pro Doc, helping you improve your game with science. And tonight, it's the Nike Air Zoom Vapor 10 Air Max 95 limited edition. Now we're gonna find out tonight through all of our gauntlet of tests, are these things at $160 any better than the original Nike Vapor 10s? Here we go. Now, as you can see, the Air Max 95 edition is quite a bit different than the original Nike Vapor 10. Now, a big reason for that is in the uppers. Now, starting just with the lace closure system, remember, this is gonna be a lot different than that integrated lace closure system in the Nike Vapor 10. In this, you have more of these outriggers that are sewn into the midsole. Now, these are supposed to give you a much more enveloping closure, so Nike says on their website. However, for me, I found that the Nike Vapor 10 Originals did close down a little bit more substantially and a little bit tighter around my midfoot. Now, the one big thing you'll notice is around the entire upper though, you do have all this suede material, whereas on the Nike Vapor 10, it's just mesh and a little bit of like plastic TPU. Now, what I like about this is these rubber shark fins that go on the outside of the arch and on the inside of the arch, they actually continue into this suede material. So you actually are getting a little bit more support from the uppers than you do on the original Vapor 10, which I actually liked, because when I noticed when I was pressing down on them, that flex, that pronation that these shoes allow, you still do have that in the Air Max 95s. However, that suede actually does prevent that from going as far and as extreme as the original Vapor 10s do. So you actually are getting a little bit more support in the uppers on these than you do on the originals. And speaking of closure and security, you actually are getting some different laces in the Air Max 95. It's these kind of silver encrusted laces. They actually are pretty substantial and do give you a pretty decent tie down. But I think one of the biggest differences of everything is the rest of the upper. You do have mesh on the outside of the upper. However, once you go on the inside, it is that more traditional kind of felted material back on the old school Air Max shoes. So these are gonna heat up a little bit more than the original Vapor 10s will. So make sure, they are a little bit more plush feeling on the inside, but they are going to heat up more too. Now going into the midsole, I know the shoe's name says Air Max in it. However, it is still an Air Zoom unit, exactly the same as in the original Vapor 10. It still has the same 2.5 centimeter heel height and 2.3 centimeter deflated heel height, as well as a 1 centimeter heel to toe drop. Still the exact same specs on the midsole. I think a few big reasons why Nike kept the Zoom Air and didn't put a Max Air unit in these. Number one, to keep the same basic structure of the shoe, because a Zoom Air unit is just a lot smaller than a Max Air unit. And number two, Zoom Air is just a lot more of a resilient unit than the Max Air or the Visible Air is. On a Zoom Air unit, what you have is the air pushing this way and these fibers pulling in. So you're getting a lot more of that springy bounce. Whereas on the Max Air unit here, you're just getting contents under pressure. When a Max Air unit is first out of the box, it actually does have a lot more surface area of that air pillow. So when you get right out of the box, the Max Air actually feels pretty good. It's just that Zoom Air unit is gonna last you a lot longer. But the one actual difference on the midsole on the 95s versus the original Vapor 10 is how the upper interacts with the midsole. On the Air Max 95s, it's just much more integrated with the midsole because of that suede upper. And so you are gonna get just a little bit more stability from the upper integrating with the midsole versus on the original Vapor 10s. So if you like the Vapor 10s but think they're a little bit too flimsy, this actually might be a decent pickup. Now moving into the outsole, as you can see, the pattern is exactly the same on the 95s and the originals. It's that aggro crag pattern, which will pretty much grip anything. Now the one thing I did notice is, now this is a black outsole, these are white outsoles. I did notice doing some pivot tests and some wide forehands, I actually noticed that this outsole actually started slipping more than my original Vapor 10s and the Vapor 10 knits that I've played in. So I'm not sure if it's the dye or if it's the batch of rubber, but this shoe definitely slid more than the original Vapor 10s for me.
Now, outsole durability test with Dremel, 10 seconds, highest grit sandpaper. Same on the Air Max 95 as on the original, about 2 millimeters of damage, which is actually not the most durable outsole out there. But on the upper durability test, the Air Max 95 edition absolutely blew away the original Vapor 10, barely getting as much as a scuff from the Dremel test, just lending credence to the saying, they just don't make them like they used to.
Now the fit of the Air Max 95s is a little bit less generous than on the Nike Vapor 10. One reason being is this double thickness in the upper and that suede on the upper. Now my left foot is just a tad wider than my right. I'm both a 2E on both sides. My right foot was fine. My left foot, even after 2 days of playing in these, is actually still a little bit cramped in there. I just think it's just not as accommodating as the original Vapor 10s. So I think if you are above a 2E, you better go up a half size in these. Like I said before, these don't flex as much as the Vapor 10s, but they still do have that flex. So if you are an overpronator or if you have a painful flat foot, these still are not going to be the greatest shoes in the world for you. However, if you do not have any pain on your arch or you don't have a painful flat foot, then these shoes are going to give you that little bit more stability than the original Vapor 10s. Now, when playing in the Air Max 95s, they felt heavier than the original Vapor 10s. However, they're actually 0.1 ounces lighter than the Vapor 10. I think the reason that they felt heavier is the materials are just a little bit more enveloping, a little bit more secure, a little bit more stout, and the inside of the uppers is just a little more padded, so they actually feel like they're heavier even though they aren't. Now, aside from those couple of times I slipped on the treads, these shoes do feel incredibly stable and light on the court, same as the Vapor 10. They have a lot of the same playing characteristics, obviously. The shoes just feel great when split stepping. They feel really light underfoot. They feel like you can really get up and go for the next shot. And with that really sharp, wide lateral flange, you really never feel out of control, even if you're on one foot or even if you're getting really down low for a ball. So the playing characteristics of these shoes is actually really fantastic, and that little bit more suede on the top, that little bit more security, I actually really liked, even though it made the shoe just a little bit more tight in the forefoot. I actually felt like these shoes were actually a nice, more beefier version of the Vapor 10s. One thing I noticed about the Vapors is that when I'm sticking my right foot out and hopping into my forehand, they really give you a lot of flex and then pop. I don't know of another shoe that can do this as well as these. So I think players that like the speed of the Vapor 10 but don't like some of its flimsiness, I think will really find a nice shoe in this. The only bad part is they are $160. These are at the very top of the price range for Nike shoes.
I came in at 14.27 seconds on the suicide test, which is actually pretty good. It just shows these shoes are really lightweight, but they give you a little bit more security, so you have more confidence taking those turns. Now, like I said, with these shoes, the rubber did slip a little bit. However, it didn't make much difference. Still gave me a really fast time. I came in at 27 centimeters on the serve height test and 76 centimeters on the serve distance test, which is pretty good for any shoe, but really good for a lightweight shoe. The interesting thing is these shoes have that outsole-based plastic shank, which is really broad. It actually even has outsole tread on it. Now, this shank is really good at absorbing energy from a broad surface area on the shoe. It's just not going to give you that massive pop on the serve. It is good for those small split steps and that small bouncing because it absorbs so much energy, so it makes you feel really light. You're just not going to get that massive pop like, say, something like the GP Turbos would give you.
But if I had to describe these shoes in one word, it would be enveloping. That suede upper on the top just really envelops your foot and just gives you a little bit more security in that lightweight shoe that I think some people really crave from the original Vapor 10s. Now, even though I do have a cut open pair of Vapor 10s, these have not escaped the chopping block yet. I will have a 3-month follow-up on these shoes to test the midsole durability as well as the outsole, so make sure you stick around for that. Otherwise, I hope you have a great day, great night, wherever in the world you are tuning in from. I'll see you next time.